In this series, I explore the extraordinary lives
I feel like a king.
of some of the most famous faces in Australia and the world.
I'm giving you some great exclusives here.
Being black, you can't wash it off.
Great characters
I hated ballet with passion.
have great stories.
Try getting your first bra in front of the nation.
I'd never bought the live fast, die young.
And I love the challenge of trying to capture personalities on the canvas.
The most exciting part of my life and the most disappointing part of my life.
The portrait is theirs to keep. So I really hope they like it.
I like it very much. It's wonderful.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. That is me.
Wow.
Mate, that looks amazing.
Welcome to Anne's Brush with Fame. Jane Seymour is an international star of the big and small screen. She was just 20 when she landed the role of Bond girl Solitaire in Live and Let Die.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
I know who you are, what you are, and why you have come.
Her bold move from London to Hollywood paid off, and she has thrived in a varied and successful career spanning almost 5 decades. Perhaps best known for Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, her latest movie, Ruby's Choice, was filmed in Australia. Where did she get her optimism and creativity?
I've had my portrait painted many times. What he does clearly is he gets to know who you are, and I think that's exciting. And I love portraiture. I think it's amazing, and I love his style.
Jane Seymour has had an incredible career and life. An English woman in LA, she has managed longevity in a notoriously difficult industry. She has real warmth in her eyes and delicate features. That's what I'll be trying to capture. Hello, Jane.
Hello.
What a great honour to have you on the show.
Oh, it's a great honour for me. I wish I could give you a big hug.
Please take a seat.
Social distance. Okay, there we go.
Ah,
In the famous green chair.
yes, yes. You know, over the years I've noticed you've got this cool thing where one of your eyes is a different colour to the other.
Yes. My left one is green, and that's how I learned what left was, because it was lighter. And then the right one is brown with a little bit of green and blue in it. It's called hectochromia, and it's quite rare, apparently. But I did lose my first job as an actress because I had 2 different coloured eyes.
Really?
They said, you know, she doesn't look normal.
Ah,
And I have done films where I've had a contact lens in, where I've played 2 brown or 2 green.
right.
But now I've become known for having 2 different coloured eyes. And
Oh, I think it's awesome. And I'm going to mix a couple of different colours for it.
you are?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
good.
So, Jane, let's dive right into the deep end.
Okay.
Your mum, Mika,
Yes.
spent a number of years in a concentration camp in Indonesia in World War II.
Well, my mother was a Dutch native, born in Deventer. She married when she was 20 to a man who was half Indonesian. They lived on a tea plantation in Bandung, I think it was. And it was a very abusive marriage, actually. She left him, ran away in the middle of the jungle. The war came, and then she ended up incarcerated for 3.5 years in 3 camps. Bandung, Bogor, and Jakarta was the final one.
What was it like in those camps?
Well, the interesting thing is they had a tablespoon of rice, a teaspoon of sugar. That was what they got per day. And apparently what was supposed to be a soup, but she you know, to the day she died, she used to tell me that there would be maybe 1 tiny speck of green in it that would, if you really searched, you could find. In other words, it was basically dirty water with a bit of green in it.
Oh, my goodness.
But she was very enterprising. She found the electric supply of the Japanese, and she managed to find an old iron, and so she would catch snakes and whatever they could find, flies.
Insects, other insects?
Insects.
And
And they cooked them
with the iron?
on the iron. And that's how they got protein.
How clever. Your mum looked after people.
My mother had Red Cross training. So mostly she was dealing with people who were dying and, you know, trying to help them. She couldn't talk about it for years. I mean, she'd talk about the beginning and then she'd talk about the end. She always said to me, darling, when life is tough and you think something's insurmountable, accept, which is the hardest thing to do, the situation you're in, open your heart and help someone else. She said, you don't have to look very far to find someone that's worse off than you. So that was how she survived the camps. She was always nursing or helping other people.
Wow.
In the last camp, when they took all the dying and the patients away, she was left alone with nothing to do. She lost the plot.
She lost her reason to survive.
Absolutely. She had about 3 bad days, and then after that, she just was obsessed with escaping, which she actually managed to do. They let the English go for some reason. My mother, being Dutch, somehow managed to persuade somebody English to get her under the wire, and she went under and she got back to England.
Oh.
So she actually escaped.
She crawled under the wire.
Under the wire.
Oh, my gosh.
Pretty much all my mother's friends, a lot of them went crazy after the war. My mother, she just hoarded food a lot and liked to cook for a lot of people. So she processed it that way.
My mum went through a different thing in the Vietnam War, but she hoards food.
Really?
Yes. And she's always cooking and trying to feed everyone.
And that's what my mother did too. And now my sisters, and I have 2 sisters, Sally and Annie, that's all we do. We feed. That's our idea. We get together and say, what are we having for breakfast?
Yeah.
What are we having for lunch? What are we cooking?
Wonderful.
Yeah, it comes from her, definitely.
Jane's mother settled in London, where she met John, an obstetrician. And together, they raised 3 daughters. She started Jane in ballet to help with flat feet, and Jane soon discovered a passion for dance, which she pursued at a performing arts school.
My mother put me into ballet. They said that would be the best thing. And the next thing I knew, I loved ballet so much, that's all I wanted to do. And I decided I was going to be a ballerina. I danced until I was about 17, and then I injured myself doing a modern dance class, injured my knees, and so I segued into acting, which you had to do at that school anyway. That was part of the curriculum. You did everything. You did design, history of ballet, drama, theatre, singing, everything.
Jane's first film role was in the chorus of musical comedy, Oh What a Lovely War, directed by Richard Attenborough, where she met and married his son, Michael. She was spotted by a top agent, but he wasn't keen on the name she'd grown up with.
Joyce Penelope Wilhelmina Frankenberg.
Okay,
or
pretty long.
as my mother said, Penelope is pronounced Penelope in Dutch. I went, oh, that's not working. And in those days, everyone had a stage name and then your own name.
Right.
So we did register 3 names before a random person at my agent's office came up with the name Seymour, which is very English. And we decided to keep the initial J, Jane, you know, it's easy, so Jane Seymour.
Jane Seymour. With a new stage name and her agent's backing, doors opened for Jane, and she soon landed the role that would launch her to a global audience.
I was getting really good roles in television shows. I played, I think, Joseph Strauss's wife, and then I got my own series called The Aeneid Line, and then directly from that, the Bond film happened when I was 20. So it happened pretty quickly.
Jeez, bang, 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 20, Bond girl.
Bond girl.
Put down those cards. It is a blasphemy.
The cards say we will be lovers.
You're mistaken.
Roger had been given a letter by Richard Attenborough saying, Dear Roger, my daughter-in-law is going to be doing scenes with you. Will you please take care of my daughter-in-law? So Roger kept saying to me, look at this, an insurance policy. To make sure that you were willing to do the love scene and that you could get on with the leading guy, they'd put it first up, just get it out the way.
Right.
So you'd show up and say, oh, hello, my name's Jane. Oh, yes, mine's Roger. Nice to meet you. Like, OK, take your clothes off now and, you know, make out. Like, what?
I mean, everyone says it's just acting, but are there better kisses than others?
I would think so, yes. And then there are people that you find out that you then end up, you know, falling in love with.
Live and Let Die helped propel Jane to Hollywood. In 1980, After the end of her second marriage, she starred with Christopher Reeve in romantic fantasy Somewhere in Time, where the two stars enjoyed great chemistry.
We actually fell madly in love while we were making it. We were both single at the time, so that was really fun.
And you fell in love for real?
And we fell in love for real, and then he found out that his ex-girlfriend was pregnant, and so everything ended.
While their romance was not to be, Jane and Christopher still shared a great love. In May 1995, a catastrophic horse riding accident left him on a ventilator, paralysed from the neck down.
He was a man who prided himself in being really good at his sport. So he was a great horseback rider, and he loved to be alone. And now he, had to have two people manning his bodily functions 24/7. Every morning, he'd have a dream in which he was flying or skiing, and then he'd wake up and hear the machines. He was always determined to be able to walk again. He could not accept that he would just be in the chair. Yeah.
What was it like when you heard that Christopher had passed away?
Oh, that was devastating. We were very close friends.
Yeah. By 1983, Jane's Hollywood career was thriving. She had her heart set on appearing in the screen adaptation of The Thornbirds alongside Richard Chamberlain.
I loved the book. Yes. Oh, my God. I wanted that more than anything in the world. They always ask actors, but what do you really want to play? I wanted to be Maggie. I wanted to do Thornbirds so badly. And then I heard that I was top of the list. But I was pregnant with Katie, my firstborn. And comes to the screen test. Richard and I are getting along famously. We have lunch together. We're talking about what we're going to do. We're in Australia together. I mean, it was a given, right? After lunch, we do the love scene. And I bought this sort of negligee thing to wear. And we're filming. And all of a sudden, my milk came in all over his bare chest. The most embarrassing thing ever. So now, there's a film crew watching. Yep. You talk about embarrassing love scene. This is a really embarrassing love scene. I'm sure that he had never imagined that in his life, a woman would lactate on him. But I did. So that's what happened, and that is why the lovely Rachel Ward married Brian Brown and lived happily ever after and made this amazing miniseries. But I have a confession. I've never seen The Thornbirds because it broke my heart.
In 1988, Jane starred in the epic miniseries War and Remembrance, filmed on location in Auschwitz. The project held special meaning for Jane. While her mother had first-hand trauma from the camps in Indonesia, her Jewish father had also lost family in the Holocaust.
I came from parents who had history.
They'd been through a lot.
They'd been through a lot. Our first assistant director had survived Auschwitz himself, and he had contacted survivors all over Eastern Europe and said, if you have survived like I did, will you come and help us make this movie because it's never been depicted accurately. And so I was surrounded by people who, had the numbers tattooed on them. So I felt the spirits of the people who had passed around me, and I felt that it was incredibly important to tell this story, to tell it realistically.
Jane played a Jewish mother sent to Auschwitz. In the final emotional scenes, she's reunited with her son and sings a Hebrew lullaby with which she discovered a deep family connection.
When I was working on the role, I asked my father, I said, I have to sing this song, and he knew the song. He said his grandmother used to sing it to him. So the last scene, I'm holding this boy who I thought was gone and singing Rosen Kiss mit Mandolin, and it's gonna make me cry now because every time I think about it, yeah, it got me crying, okay.
Your dad knew the song. That's something else.
Oh, I mean, that put me away. That really put me away. But I love doing movies that tell real stories and impact people, not just emotionally, but intellectually as well.
Jane has learnt such an appreciation for life, from growing up with her parents' history woven into her own. She has taken her hard times with resilience and grace. She's charming and insightful. I hope I can get a sense of that side of her. By 1988, Jane was married to third husband David Flynn and was raising 2 kids, Katie and Sean, and stepdaughter Jenny. She worked a demanding schedule, becoming known as the Queen of the miniseries, and was filming Onassis in Spain when she came down with bronchitis and was treated with an injection of antibiotics.
It hit a vein or an artery, and it went straight to me, and my heartbeat went really, really fast, and then it just went silent.
Oh, wow.
So I left my body. Yes. I don't know how long for, but I do remember that I saw a white light, and I had no trauma at all. And then I looked down and I saw my body, and I thought, oh, I'm not ready to go. There's things I need to do. And the only things I remember thinking I really wanted was I wanted to raise my children.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make a difference in the world.
Wow.
And my whole life changed after that. I don't fear death. I know what it feels like. And I think that's what my mother did, and I think that's where I got it from. It's like this, you know, the whole idea of accepting something that you may not want to accept.
Yeah.
And every time something bad has happened to me, something great has come from it. Even now, I mean, who has a woman that's almost 70 to go to Australia to play a woman with dementia with a grey wig? You just never know. I think you have to be open. Open-hearted and open-minded is how I tell people.
Tell me about how Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman came about.
I was married to my accountant, one of the top accountants in the show business, and I found out he was very unfaithful to me, and then I found out he was an addict, and then I found out he'd lost all our money and left me $9 million in the red with the lawsuits from every major bank, including the government, and I was penniless, homeless, 2 kids, and this was the height of my career. I was winning awards all the time, and I'd made a ton of money, and he'd lost it all. I felt like I was falling down a black hole. But when you have kids, you know, you can't express depression and you can't go crazy, you know, you have to get them to school, you have to feed them, you have to keep them going. And so I called my agent and I said, I need to work yesterday. And he called all the television companies and said, Jane will literally do anything. She said, anything.
Jane's agent put the word out, and she was grateful for an offer from CBS to star in a movie of the week featuring frontier doctor Michaela Quinn.
They said, well, she has to sign a contract for 5 years because we might make it into a series, but we can pretty much guarantee we won't, okay? So don't worry about lawyers and stuff, because she has to start tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow, okay. So it was a woman in the lead. That would never work. Really. A Western, that will never work. A period piece, 1870s, definitely won't work. Children and animals and, you know, humanity, no. And a doctor on top of that, medical shows, they don't work. So I brought back Saturday night television with a woman in the lead, playing a doctor in the West. I ticked all the boxes.
Dr. Quinn would be the role of Jane's career, and she hit it off once again with her male co-star.
I fell in love with the leading man. Not a good thing to do in the pilot. We ran off to Bora Bora together and realized we were completely incompatible, fought like crazy, came back, split up, and then they signed, they said, oh, you're going to do the show. We did it for 7 years, we weren't talking, except as characters. I'm giving you some great exclusives here. Now he's my best friend on the planet. I don't know. It was crazy.
That's amazing.
It was crazy.
What are those kissing scenes like?
Those are very intense and very real.
Jane would later meet her 4th husband, director James Keach, on the set of Dr. Quinn. In 1995, they had twin boys named after their godfathers. One is called Johnny, and one is called
Chris. So one was after Christopher Reeve, and then the other one, Johnny, was named after his godfather, Johnny Cash.
I got to say, you know,
Who
I have
knew?
twins, and one is named after Christopher, and one is
one's
Johnny
Johnny,
Cash.
yes.
How cool.
Well, you know, Dr. Quinn introduced me to amazing people. I met Johnny Cash in June through Dr. Quinn, and June came to us and said, someone's going to make a story of our lives, and we want to give it to you. So they gave us the rights to the story of their lives. And we worked for 11 years on a movie that ended up being called Walk the Line.
Oh, my gosh.
My name is not on it. That's another reason why I'm not married now. But his is.
Yes, yes.
And we worked on it for 11 years, and it would never have happened if it hadn't been for Dr. Quinn.
In 2007, Jane was working in America when her mother, Mika, had a stroke.
It's just so sad because she would start hallucinating, and she would start seeing and being terrified of, we imagine, was what had happened during the war.
Oh, wow.
And she had these terrible, terrible nightmares, and, you know, felt she was being attacked, and it was just horrible. And we used to bring her friends over all the time. We said, you know, forget the funeral, come and see her while she's still around.
Yes.
And she couldn't really talk, but I had been asked to do Dancing with the Stars, which was her favorite show. And my sister put the phone next to her, and she'd nod like that. And I said, I've been asked to do Dancing with the Stars. She went, yes. And we were like, Mika, you just spoke. She went, mm-hmm. And I told her that I, you know, shouldn't do it. I couldn't do it because of her. And she said, no, you're going to do it. And she died while I was doing the show. But she lasted 7 months after her stroke.
While Jane has gone on to great success, in recent years, she's spoken up about an incident that almost ended her Hollywood career. In her early days, she was flown from London to meet with a top producer and found herself in a compromising situation.
I didn't have a lot of experience, really, and now another producer called my agent and said, oh, I want to meet her too because I have a film for her. So I go along, and there's no one there. It's just me, and he shows on the projector this screen test, which was clearly not good. And then he basically said, look, I've persuaded everyone that you're the right person for my movie, and I think you're going to be brilliant in it. And he said, so now it's your turn. And I said, my turn? He said, yes. And he put his hand on my knee, and I went, So I'm big British, you know, I'm on long sofa. I just keep, I keep moving down, moving down the couch, pretending it hadn't happened, but it kept happening. And basically, I just got up and I just said, look, I'm very sorry, but I need to go home now. And he said, if you ever tell anyone that this ever happened, I can guarantee you will never work in this industry ever again. And he sort of thrust a $10 bill in my hand for the cab, which felt like disgusting and dirty and horrible. And he made me swear I would never tell my agents that I'd been there. So the next morning they said, how'd it go? How'd it go? And I went, I didn't go. He said, well, why not? I said, well, at the last minute I thought, quick thinking, well, I'm doing the test. And he said, well, it's a good thing you didn't. I said, why? He said, well, he's got a bit of a reputation, and if you'd gone, it could have been uncomfortable, and if certain things had gone a certain way, you probably would never have got the role, but at least you didn't go there, so you're going to be okay. Oh. What? I was terrified because this man could destroy my career. Yeah. So I went back to England, and I just stopped acting. I quit for a year. I just couldn't do it. I didn't want to. I just thought, well, if that's what it's about, if that's what I have to do, then that's not what I want to do. And then I just got asked to go to America again, and I just thought, you know what? I'm going to brave it. I'm going to go back. I'm going to try. I went to America, and I made friends randomly with this man's daughter. And I got invited back to that house.
Oh, gosh.
And he came up to me, and he said, don't I know you from somewhere? And I looked him in the eye, and I went, not if you don't remember. And then I walked away very fast to get a glass of wine. And then he kept following me. He said, no, don't I know you? And he
didn't even remember?
No, because it happened to so many people.
Yeah, jeez. Oh.
You know, I won't name him, but he passed away. And the point was that everyone knew this was his reputation. But in those days, no one did anything.
Yeah. People
who really got away with really heinous things don't anymore.
Yes. Geez, I'm glad you came back to acting, Jane. You know?
Well, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Jane, what do you think is the key to happiness?
Life is incredibly valuable to me, and every experience, the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, the love you share, the difference you make, that's what life is to me. And I am incredibly grateful for all of it.
Yes.
Wouldn't change any of it.
Jane, I've really enjoyed our chat.
Thank you.
I'm just going to need another 20 minutes or so to finish
All right.
off, and then I'm going to bring you back and I'm going to show you the
Cannot
Jane Seymour.
Wait. I cannot wait. What would he capture? Hopefully a lot of light and life behind my eyes. I think he'll capture the essence of who I am. The trouble is I'm very chameleon, so it could be a crazy mixed up portrait. I mean, there's a lot of me's, so yeah.
Jane Seymour is graceful, wise, and warm. She left England to make a home in the showbiz capital of the world. But she's managed to hold on to her independence and her values. Even when presented with challenges and heartbreak, she has a wonderful presence. I hope I've been able to capture this. It's time to find out what she thinks. Okay, Jane, come on back. I'm all done. What an extraordinary life you've lived.
Oh, thank you.
You've got such an enormous presence about you, so I wanted to make you glow in the painting.
Okay.
So with that, I want you to close your amazing eyes.
All
And
right.
don't open them until I tell you.
Okay.
Okay, Jane, open your eyes.
Oh. Oh, it's beautiful. Wow. Wow. And you got the eyes, you got my crooked smile. Oh, you got it spot on.
You do have a slightly
my
crooked
gosh.
smile, which was
I
fun
do.
to paint, you know?
Very crooked
It's
smile.
charismatic. It's
You got everything. You got the two different colored eyes. Oh my gosh.
You have an authenticity and a realness about you, so I wanted that to come through the eyes, Jane.
Oh, you know what else I love? These are the colors that I live in my home. Those are my colors, like spot on. I'm not allowed to hug you, but I'm going to give you a COVID hug.
Oh, Jane.
No, it's just, oh,
Thank you, Jane.
thank you.
It's been amazing. Thank you.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity to see what someone else sees in you. And also with his technique, which is just so lovely.
Jane Seymour is a powerhouse of positivity and grace. It was a real joy to spend time with her today. Next time, a famous face with a famous voice. Kamal's remarkable journey from war-torn Malaysia to Australian entertainer.
I didn't want to be the bottom of the ladder. Being black, you can't wash it off.
My challenge is to paint the man behind the amazing voice.
Wow.